I took to the streets of Wellington this afternoon and I asked this question. Do you have a driver's licence?
I do.
Yes, sir, I do.
Nope.
Not yet. What about you?
Nah.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes.
Who taught you?
My mum.
Taught in England 50 million years ago by a driving instructor.
My parents taught me how to drive.
Dad. Sister and dad, slightly.
My dad.
Mum was always a bit sketchy because she's not the best driver herself, but she'd kind of freak out and like go to grab the wheel, and then I'll freak out, like almost go off a cliff or something. But
New Zealand First want drivers like driving to be taught in schools.
Yes.
Do you reckon it's a good idea?
I think it's more of a one-on-one family or parents or mentors who actually are experienced drivers, licensed drivers, and they can work with learners.
As long as they bring in specialists to really oversee it.
definitely.
Otherwise, people just aren't going to get around to it.
It could work, but I'm pretty indifferent about it.
Young people tend to get put out on the roads far too quickly.
And driving lessons aren't cheap as well. $50 for like half an hour or something.
I think that would have been a great thing, yeah, and get out of class as well.
Who taught you to drive, David Shearer?
My dad.
So
Yeah.
it's your dad.
Yep, and I taught my son to drive, but I got to say, no, I don't think I would have passed the test
Oh,
today.
really?
Compared to what kids have to know now. So he went on
Who
and got
taught-
some
who taught you to drive?
professional lessons
Yeah, Dad
as well.
taught me. Dad taught me. Mum would never want to teach me how to drive. She was too nervous.
Julianne?
My dad and my mom, and then of course I had to do official courses to get my license in Minnesota when I was 16.
All right, so the
Which is
question...
way too young, by the way. I was
Yeah.
not a very
All right, so
responsible driver at 16.
the question I want to ask you, Alistair, then, do you think the New Zealand First idea is not a bad idea to get that core competency from school or either senior citizens doing
Well,
it for free?
You can get NCA credits right now to learn how to drive. So Winston obviously hasn't read the
So
curriculum.
why don't they?
Well, it's an option. If you want to, you can choose to get credits through the NCA system and learn how to drive.
Do you
So
think
it's there already.
Do you think
Do
it's
all
a
the
fair,
schools offer
do
it?
you
Yeah, I
think
think
it's
it's
a
a good
fair
idea.
idea?
I tell you the two reasons. One is particularly if you're living in provincial areas, if you're somebody leaving school and you want to get a job, you have to drive to get there. So if you can't drive, then you basically a lot of them end up being unemployed. And the second reason is that actually it teaches kids who are often failing because they don't have the reading and writing skills to be able to pass it. So
Yep.
it gives you an enabler to be able to move on and get those basic
Well,
skills down.
Julianne Winston said, quoting 60% of the people who are committing crime in the Māori world, their first offence is driving without a licence.
That's a real problem, and I absolutely agree that it should be optional in schools, and we should probably make the licensing
compulsory
fee.
in schools.
Yeah, no, see, I don't know about compulsory because I don't really think that's relevant to a lot of young people these days. I mean, fewer and fewer young people are getting their license
What do
because
you-
they're
what?
not interested in driving.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
public
with
transport is available.
Driverless technology
Yeah.
means that it's going to be less relevant as a life skill in the
Absolutely.
future, but it should be
Younger
available
younger
to people.
kids are,
It should be available.
putting less emphasis on getting their driving qualifications.
That's interesting.
And particularly in the cities, they are using the buses to move around, and,
But
and it's just something that they do without thinking about it.
Don't employers still want people to drive?
No,
they
all
want them
employers.
to get to work on time. I mean, that's and big cities now, the public transport is
All right.
adequate, and they use that
All
instead.
right, Hayley,
let's go.
let's go to the audience.
Yes, I want to know who thinks this is a great idea? Driving as a core subject. Anybody? Yes? Would you have enjoyed that?
Yeah, no, I think it's quite important to learn from a very early age, especially in school, because when you used to be able to get your learners when you're 15, then they changed the age to 16, and then so you ended up getting your full after you left home, assuming you went to university when you're 18, and so that you're out of your tutelage of your parents being able to teach you all the good skills, but when you're 15, you'd be able to get it all done if you did it quickly whilst you're in school. And I actually had a program where I got credits as well.
Ah.
Well, I must have been about year 11 at Whakatane High School. And I think they took it away a couple of years afterwards, but it was really, really good. Just did it at lunchtime.
What about Winston Peters saying that if you could get sort of some volunteers, maybe some older people in the community to come and teach you, would you have wanted that? Maybe your grandma or your grandpa?
Not sure about that old, but yeah, I think it's important to learn because there's a lot different between picking up the New Zealand Road Code, which I don't think anyone ever reads. It's far too thick and far too big and too wordy. But learning practical skills about how it actually applies on the road is far more important.
Well, I know that my granddad got pulled over once for going too slow, so I'm not sure I would have wanted him to teach me. So, the correspondence ladies, where are you? Over here. Do you think it's a good idea? How could you do that in correspondence?
We're doing it now.
How do you do it?
Well, there are two ways. One is the courses where students go to sit their theory, the credits for that. The other way is when they've got their licence, they are entitled to send in the photocopy of the licence. They fill in the appropriate forms, and there are credits under Pathways courses that are for that as well.
Okay. Do you think it should be a core subject?
I'm not sure about a core subject because earlier on we talked about climate change, and I find it quite ironic that we're talking and possibly promoting personal cars in this day and age. And secondly, we are heading for driverless cars in, say, 2 generations. So I'm happy to be slightly more flexible. It's the numeracy, for the financial numeracy for me is more important than learning to drive the car.
What a fantastic wrap up. Back to you, Wallace.
You know what? I'm going to join a correspondence school, actually. That's very, very interesting. I might sign up tomorrow. Hey, look, stay with us. Quiz is next.